Content warning. This audio discusses abduction and murder. Ted Bundy pretended to be injured to gain sympathy from women, then abducted and murdered them. His crimes became one of the most infamous serial killer cases in U.S. history. In the 1970s, a series of mysterious disappearances began to terrify communities across the United States. Young women were vanishing from college campuses, public parks, and even busy streets. In many cases, witnesses reported seeing a polite young man asking for help. The man often appeared harmless. Sometimes he wore a cast on his arm or walked with crutches. He asked strangers to help him carry books or load items into his car. But those who stopped to help him would soon disappear. The man behind these crimes was Ted Bundy. Bundy was intelligent, charming, and outwardly normal. He studied law, worked in politics, and appeared to live a typical life. Yet behind this carefully crafted image was a violent predator responsible for some of the most disturbing crimes in American history. For years, investigators struggled to connect the disappearances. The crimes occurred in different states, with few witnesses and little physical evidence. But as the pattern slowly emerged, authorities realized they were dealing with a serial killer. This is the disturbing story of Ted Bundy, a man who used charm and deception to hide a terrifying secret. Ted Bundy was born in 1946 and grew up in what appeared to be a normal environment. However, many people who later studied his life believe that he experienced deep psychological conflicts during his childhood. Bundy was known to be intelligent and ambitious. He attended university and became interested in law and politics. Friends and acquaintances described him as articulate, confident, and even charismatic. Because of this outward appearance, few people ever suspected that Bundy could be capable of violent crimes. However, investigators later discovered that Bundy had long struggled with violent fantasies. These fantasies gradually evolved into dangerous behavior. In the early 1970s, women in the Pacific Northwest began disappearing under mysterious circumstances. Many of the victims were college students. Witnesses occasionally reported seeing a young man named Ted asking for help before the disappearances occurred. The man was often described as friendly and polite, which made it even more difficult for people to believe he could be dangerous. Bundy's ability to appear trustworthy became one of the most disturbing aspects of the case. He carefully used charm and manipulation to gain the trust of his victims before attacking them. For a long time, these crimes appeared unrelated. Different police departments were investigating separate missing person cases without realizing that they were connected. As more women disappeared, investigators began to notice patterns. Several witnesses described a similar scenario. A young man with a cast or crutches would approach women and ask for assistance. Once the victim agreed to help him, she would walk with him toward a nearby vehicle. After that moment, the victim was never seen again. Bundy used this tactic because it created sympathy. People naturally wanted to help someone who appeared injured. Authorities later discovered that Bundy frequently changed locations to avoid suspicion. His crimes took place across multiple states, making it difficult for investigators to connect the cases. Each time a disappearance occurred, the investigation often started from the beginning with little knowledge of the previous crimes. Bundy also carefully avoided leaving witnesses or physical evidence. His intelligence and mobility allowed him to remain unidentified for years. During this time, communities became increasingly frightened. News reports warned women to be cautious when approached by strangers. However, the true identity of the killer remained unknown. Even more disturbing was the fact that Bundy continued to live a seemingly normal life. He attended school, worked jobs, and interacted with friends while secretly committing violent crimes. This double life made the case one of the most chilling examples of deception in criminal history. Over time, Bundy's crimes became more frequent and more dangerous. Investigators later determined that his attacks were not random. He often targeted young women who resembled a specific appearance. This pattern suggested that Bundy was driven by a psychological obsession. As the number of victims increased, law enforcement agencies began sharing information. Detectives started comparing reports from different states. Gradually, they realized that the same suspect description kept appearing. The name Ted appeared in several witness statements. In some cases, witnesses had even noticed the vehicle used by the suspect. These small pieces of information slowly helped investigators build a clearer picture of the man responsible for the crimes. Public awareness also increased. Posters and warnings began appearing in communities where the disappearances had occurred. Despite these efforts, Bundy continued to evade capture. His ability to blend into society allowed him to remain hidden even while investigators were actively searching for him. Eventually, investigators began to focus on a suspect who matched the description provided by witnesses. Ted Bundy was questioned by police and became a person of interest. As detectives gathered more evidence, they discovered connections between Bundy and several of the locations where victims had disappeared. This growing body of evidence eventually led to his arrest. The investigation revealed the full scale of Bundy's crimes and confirmed the fears of many investigators who had been tracking the case. During the trial, the public closely followed every development of the case. Bundy attempted to defend himself in court and often appeared calm and confident. However, the evidence against him continued to grow. Eventually, Bundy was convicted and sentenced for his crimes. The case became one of the most infamous serial killer trials in American history. Today, Ted Bundy remains one of the most widely studied criminals in the field of criminal psychology. His ability to appear normal while committing horrific crimes continues to disturb investigators and researchers. The story serves as a reminder that appearances sometimes hide dangerous truths.